Oh, all right, here we go. Dude, I have to pause mine now.
Go ahead, go ahead.
All right. Welcome everybody to Hive Live. This is episode 3. Thrilled to have everybody here with us. Excited to share this with everybody tonight. Coming to you live here from here in New Jersey and all over to people all over the world. Another great episode for Princeton Hive. Marcos is going to change gears today, talk a little bit about design. I'm excited because I love what he's going to talk about tonight. Some updates for everybody on summer camps and getting those things out to you guys. There's some exciting things coming. And so, yeah, welcome back. Again, I am Brian Costello. I'm Brian Costello. I am the owner at our XR division here, and I got Marcos Navas. So, Marcos, good to see you again. Thanks for joining us. Getting our next edition going here.
Yeah, it's exciting again. Episode 3. We've gone this far, so really excited. As you all know, my name is Marcos Navas. I'm running the coding hive and design hive, and today we are going to talk a little bit on the design side of things. And I definitely want to start peeking into a little bit more into that world and letting the world know what's to come, especially with design being such a hot topic now. What we've done here at the Princeton Hive, over at the Design Hive, is with all of these many different processes out and different frameworks out. We have our own design framework, and we are definitely going to be using it and all across Princeton Hive. It's called the D4 framework, the Beehive design framework, and it's based off D4. So we're looking at discover. So it's about discovering the world around you, discovering yourself, discovering a problem in that world, develop. So you can develop that problem to a good how might we statement. One thing you want to make sure is you're designing for the right problem and not the wrong one, and that's where you figure all that out and develop. And then there's obviously design, which is the prototype side of things, where you can prototype, test, and then obviously we have deliver, which is our last D, delivering your idea to the world. So one of the things we're definitely looking to use as far as a prototyping tool, and obviously we're going to have to give a little bit background on how to use this all, but I wanted to just use today's episode just to really quickly talk about an amazing, powerful tool, and some of you may know about this one already, and it's called Tinkercad, and it is an amazing online tool. It is free, one of my favorite F words. It is absolutely free. Yeah, one of the many. And free for educators, free for students, free for everyone. So you can start designing quick and fast right off of Tinkercad. And what I love is Tinkercad actually involves almost 3 different hives. Obviously, a design hive. Now, in Tinkercad, they've included a coding block section. So now you can code 3D objects. And again, we spoke about in our last show, we spoke about block coding, and I'll show you real quick when I share the screen the block coding that's used in Tinkercad, and items that you create in Tinkercad you can export out and bring into the XR and VR world as well. So Tinkercad allows for almost 3 of our hives to play around with it as a prototype.
Yeah, that's Tinkercad's pretty amazing. I know I've had students work in Tinkercad. I've worked in it myself to create some 3D designs. It's a lot of fun to play with. It does some pretty wild things. Can really get a lot going with that. So yeah, why don't you share that with everybody? Show everybody what it looks like, and we'll.
Yep. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. What's going on here? Let's see. StreamYard. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. So you should be able to see it now. Yes.
Oh yeah, here we go. I gotta put it on.
Okay.
There we go. That's all
Perfect.
me.
So Tinkercad.com. Tinkercad is part of Autodesk. I want to say at one point Google had its hands on it, but now it is part of the Autodesk community. Here's a quick tip for you educators out there. If you are an educator or a student, you can actually have access to the entire Autodesk suite for free. Again, my favorite F word, for free. It is a free tool for everyone in the educational world. And there, when you add up their entire suite of software, it adds up to a nice big dollar. But either way, when you go to tinkercad.com, you're going to arrive to this place. Obviously, you can create an account. And you can link up your Google account with this. Educators, I definitely want you to take a look over where it says teach, because Tinkercad does an amazing job in giving you lesson plans, giving you tutorials and access to tutorials. It even allows you to build your own little Tinkercad class, and you can invite your students to it. Completely safe. I know a lot of districts are nervous about inviting kids into the platform, but this platform is completely FERPA, HERPA, LERPA, COPA, all that good stuff safe. So you don't have to worry about that. But educators, you definitely want to take a look because this is an amazing free tool. And again, it's all about prototyping, and it's how can I start taking this new tool and embedding it into the stuff we are already doing. You also have a gallery. Amazing creations from around the world. People are uploading their stuff here. You can download any of this. You can tinker with it and change it up as well and do your own. So, Brian, I know one of the things we've been talking about for a summer camp is this idea of the cities of tomorrow, smart cities, and things like that. So we may be using this as the tool to develop that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, it's a really versatile tool, which I think is great. And it has a lot of potential, a lot of different things that you can do with it, which is, like I said, it's really fun to see. And you can really design almost anything with this for 3D printing, or I know we talked about CoSpaces on the last live. You can actually export your files and then upload them into CoSpaces. So if you build a custom design, you can then upload it into a 3D platform like CoSpaces to test it out with.
Well, it's funny you said that because when in our last show, when we did speak about CoSpaces, I talked about how we brought Cody into the CoSpace world. And again, I did that right here. This is the file I did in Tinkercad. I created it there and then brought it into CoSpaces. So again, Tinkercad really serves. It touches base on a couple of our different hives as an amazing tool for creating and designing. But once you create your account, you're able to log in. You can create new designs right away. I have to tell you, when you go to learn, this is an amazing. You definitely want to start here. I'm going to say this right off the bat. Younger kids find it a little easier to navigate here because they're used to it in the Minecraft world. They're used to the Roblox world. And it's really 3D in that sense. So they jump in this like it's water. It's natural. Adults, when I've done PD with adults, it takes them a little bit to get used to. I've had adults tell me, listen, this is getting me a little dizzy because, again, the whole thing moves and it can create a little bit, I guess, of nausea for some people.
Yeah. And the only thing that gets me with Tinkercad is the controls are the exact opposite of CoSpaces. So like the buttons are almost exactly reversed. So when I go to move around the space, I end up like having to readjust myself a little bit. But it is you can really move around pretty easily in that space.
Yeah. But again, everything here is free. So you want to go to learn. You want to just take some of these starter tutorials, how to use the basic things. There's a couple more below that. Again, just how to move things, how to place things. A lot of it's perspective. Learning how to move the camera around to look at things nice and clear is a big trick.
And I know I talked last week when I was talking about CoSpaces. One of the things that I spend a lot of time when I teach kids CoSpaces is how to maneuver around the space so that you can check to make sure things actually line up. Because learning how to play with things in 3 dimensions is totally different and really does change. Like it really is different than than doing something in 2D. So you actually have to
Yep.
maneuver around the space. You have to think through everything logically in those three-dimensional spaces, which can be a lot more challenging than doing it otherwise. So yeah, it is a big part of it there.
Yep, yep, yeah. That spatial thinking is a hell of a skill to develop, and when you're playing around in these 3D worlds, they are definitely developing that skill. But again, we have projects you can start doing all on Tinkercad, all free. Teachers, you can go to Teach to get lesson plans and things like that. But again, it's pretty simple. You can go over when you create an account, you have all your 3D designs. They've added circuits, so now you can
Yeah,
design your own circuits,
I
which
was
is pretty
actually going to
cool.
bring that up because there's some cool circuit lessons for Arduino
Yeah.
in there, and I use that with my robotic students at school. So basically, they walk through and they do some of the virtual simulations and learn some of the skill sets with virtual circuits through Arduino. So I only have a couple of actual Arduinos. So if the kids get interested in it, they can jump into it. But with the physical ones, or with the virtual one there, they can all get a chance to play around with it, see what happens when they connect different pieces and how the electricity works.
Yep, yep, yep. And again, in our last episode, we were talking about Scratch and block coding, and Tinkercad just added their the code block feature, where now you can code all these different shapes and create an actual code to create something, and almost like an animation. For example,
Wow.
this is one that was just put together as a sample. I'm just going to play this in the background um, to show you how each one of these lines, every time I press the button, is running that code. So it's building an entire rocket right through coding. And again, this is the world we live in as far as coding is concerned. Literally, the world around us, because we're living in this digital age, a lot of it is made up of this language called coding. So it's amazing, especially when you get into the Scratch stuff and you start putting these blocks together and make your character do things. It's amazing where now creativity can take over, curiosity can take over, and you can create some pretty cool things in Scratch through coding, and now even through design with Tinkercad, use coding to create things as well. So again, we're living in a
Yeah, I
world
love
where you
that.
can create with code.
I love the idea that you can create there with coding right there in the design space. That's really interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's really fantastic. I love Tinkercad. I played with it a couple different, a couple different ways, for 3D design, for 3D prints. I've never tried the coding section. That's actually really interesting to see that go. So you can kind of build something with the code and then maybe animate it a little bit
Yep.
in the 3D space. This is very cool. Um,
Yep.
and speaking of animating in 3D spaces, so last week I kind of teased out a little bit this program called My 360, which is um, another CoSpaces basically product from, I guess, Delightex is the parent company, but from CoSpaces, they've created this space called My 360, which basically is doing the work of Google Tours. So I had started creating a pretty cool tour of Mars, but it just didn't pan out as well as I had hoped. So I'm gonna share one of their really good ones that's already pre-created and show how we can adapt it. Is a really good tour of Munich City, which is where their home office is located.
Ah.
So um, so I'm gonna open up that one.
I'm sure that would be an amazing experience to have kids create their own little tour on Mars. That's pretty
Yeah, 360 images, and the cool thing about this, so like you can see, this is the building space. So like this is scene one, and you can see
cool.
you can kind of jump to any one of these pieces. Each one of these becomes a scene then, and like right now I'm in the building section, so like everything is this 360 image. There are, just like any other like piece, there's info and questions. So you could do this in ThingLink or anywhere else. You could really do this on a number of 360 platforms. So VR platforms where you can bring in video, sound, images, text, and they have a lot of that stuff here, and you can see like
And they
what the
become
text
almost
and
like
everything
call
looks
outs
like.
within the world, right, Brian?
Yes. Now, here's the thing that makes this different. They also add their little CoSpaces, some of their CoSpaces tools in here. So like I can say, I'm going to, I don't know, add this sporty senior into the scene here. So I want to make them about the same size as everybody else. We can give them an animation. Let's make them dance. There we go. All right, and we can even add interactions when they click. So when they click this, you can have text appear. So like,
very cool, man. You know what? And it really is just showing the kids these tools and how to use them and let them go free with this to create, recreate worlds that we're looking for,
Yeah. And I mean, with this, you can add sound. You can actually record sound in CoSpaces, which is, I think I spelled something wrong here, but anyway, no, I just didn't put a capital. Okay. Things get mad at you for not putting capital. So this is what it looks like when you press play. So here's my 360, and if I want to hop from place to place, so the star will let me jump from section to section. So I want to go to a different part of the city, and then if I want to go back where I was, so I can see this here. So here's my dancing person here that I put in. I click on them. My text comes up. You can actually, this is a sample tour that they made of Munich, which like has a lot of historic buildings in it and stuff that goes back to the, like 800-900 years that are still sitting there. So you can see kind of all over the place. And these are all just 360 images that you're able to drop in and play with. So
you can overlay those 360 images. So I'm thinking if we bring in a picture of a Mars background, have kids design what their city would look like in Tinkercad, bring in that and superimpose it on top of that real picture. That might be something cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. So one of the things that I like about this is it's replacing Tour Builder. In that, I mean, it's not like directly replacing Tour Builder because it's obviously not like from Google. It doesn't transport directly to Google Earth, but it is. It does allow you to access 360 video and images and use those as the backgrounds to build off of. And then you can share those spaces. You can view them in a VR space, or you can view them. You can view them like this, the static space on the camera on your computer or with the device. But no matter what, then you can check out the information that's there. So if I'm playing this scene as opposed to editing it, oldest church in Munich, and they have all these things here.
Cool.
And you can kind of do whatever you want with this. So you can make a tour of your city. You can make a tour of your school. You could make, you could set up kind of a scavenger hunt almost. I know with a similar program, I once put together a whole recreation of where in the world is Carmen Sandiego. When I first started playing around with, like the easy Google sites, and I was trying to figure out how to learn how to do this.
Very cool.
So yeah. So question
this is just all.
We have a question here, so I'm just gonna address the question real quick. So we had a question from Doug. He says, "Can you fly around? Can you see other parts of the city?" And the answer to that is you can. It's a 360 image. It's a static image. It's not a it's not like a mapped out 360-degree spatial area where you have like a designated area to move. What happens when you put those 360 images into a space is you tend to lose the three-dimensional movement that you would normally have in a VR space. So it's more of a, I know I talked about the first week we got on here, we talked about 3DOF versus 6DOF. So this is like a 3DOF space. You can only move side to side, up and down, left and right, forward and back. You can't really move forward and backwards. You're missing that one as well. So you're missing the ability to move in and around the space. And that's kind of a bad example of the DOS, but it is kind of just lays out for you how that space works. So you are static in that space, you're stuck there, but you can, so like I'll just throw this back up here for a second so we can see. So basically anywhere you have 360 images, so in this space, so for the way this one's made, like if you were to say, click on the star, you would jump to scene switch, right? So let's say I'm in here, I click on the star, it jumps me to this new part of the city. So it's a new 360 image with new information. And basically you can see on the bottom here, there are 7 scenes. The first one is that that kind of scene card space. There's really 6 scenes, but you can do whatever you want with it in that regard. So it's more about, it's basically allowing you to jump from 360 image to 360 image.
Right.
to make it in a way that you could actually navigate through the scene would kind of change the way that that's laid out entirely. It'd be a lot more challenging, and you need a lot more data on the spatial points than you get from like a 360 equilateral image. But it is really a good replacement for things like Tour Builder and some of the things you get from things you get from all those older versions where you can kind of build a scene in Google Earth or whatever and hop from place to place. Those things are starting to go away with Google. They're kind of doing away with their things, their VR stuff. So this is a great opportunity to jump in and try some new things with that same old skill set. But now you can actually overlay like other things on top of it. So I can build something, I can put items, I can, like I can add things to whatever I want to do. So it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense in the, in the Munich tour, but let's say we're doing Mars, and then I go on to Tinkercad. I can build a 360 version of the little Mars helicopter, and then I can export that and drop it into, into my spaces and drop through it that way. So it's pretty wild. Things you can.
And we just want to say real quick, Doug, first and foremost, thank you for your question. And we love these live questions. But more importantly, this is what the Princeton Hive is all about. You can actually go into the XR VR Hive and learn more about how to build these two different types of VR, AR, the 360 we just saw, as opposed to flying around. What we're looking to do at the Princeton Hive is give you these basic skills that are skills that we know are going to be hugely important in the future. So coming into a place, knowing about XR VR already through some basic skills that you acquire here at the Princeton Hive, just puts you ahead of the game of what's out there already. And that's what we're about, is giving you those skills for the future.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of skills for the future, the upcoming events we have coming up pretty soon. So this summer, we have kind of put the finishing touches on what will be 30 unique offerings, for 10 weeks during the summer. It is going to be, we'll run each camp 2 times a day. We'll run each camp twice a week, or twice a summer over the course of 10 weeks. And we are going to have some really incredible opportunities with design thinking, with coding, with XR, especially with CoSpaces. I'm going to be doing a lot with CoSpaces, which is a great way to get your kids who are interested in VR started in 3-dimensional design in VR. If they want to make video games, if they want to make, if they want to do animation, 3D animation, if those are things that they're excited about, CoSpaces is such a great place to start. That, like, I'm just excited to be able to offer it to a bunch of people, because there is, there's so many avenues you can branch off of. And like I said, it's a great place to start with for kids who are interested in this stuff. They can really learn a lot of the basic foundational skills to become 3-dimensional designers, VR creators, programming skills, and everything else. So, and like Marco said, with Tinkercad, there's some great crossovers and great design pieces that come into that.
And again, all our hives are going to be running special, the summer camps this summer. So, the design hive obviously going to have some pretty cool stuff happening, VR, AR, obviously coding. And even for some of those who don't want to be so hands-on, we have some curiosity-based learning happening with Matt Murray, some also entrepreneur courses as well, to get those young entrepreneur spirits up and running and give you the tools and processes you need to get out there and be ahead of the game. And that's what we're all about. So,
and also some public speaking too.
The great part is also this podcast. So we're going to be giving you the ins and outs of some of the stuff that's coming, on the weekly through these podcasts as well. So we want to keep you guys in tune. And as we're going through this, we'll be live, giving you our perspective of the whole thing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Doug has a question, Marcos. He's wondering what programming language we'd be using for, I guess this is for summer camps. So I'm going to I said that. Go ahead.
So
You can kind of launch out
for the
coding.
camps we're going to be putting out, we're looking at a K-12 camp. So really, what we're looking at is basic block, summer camp. So we're looking at basic block coding. We're looking at using Scratch, as a basic for that K-12. Obviously, when we're moving on to some older clientele in the coding hive, we then move into Python. We could then move into some Raspberry Pi and some more accelerated languages. But for this camp, we're keeping it simple. We're looking at block coding, Scratch. We're also looking a little bit more fundamental as far as focusing a little bit more on the computational thinking. The language side, they can learn, they can pick up, but it's really what we focus on in the coding hive is the application of coding to the real world. How do you use code to create things around you, whether that's block coding, Python, or whatever? But we really want to move kids from being consumers to producers. So we're really trying to get them to create with code.
And so I'll piggyback on that with everything that I'm doing with CodeSpaces is going to be block coding. While it does do some JavaScript, I'm not going to get into that for various reasons. One, because it's a 5-day summer camp and it involves, that would be a lot to get into. JavaScript is a little more complex. Once for our one of the summer camps I'm running is going to be a WebXR camp where you make a first-person game in WebXR. First-person video game in WebXR is a lot of fun. It's web-based virtual reality. And that will use HTML with just a little bit of JavaScript thrown in there. The HTML is pretty simple to learn. It's not that hard to pick up. And a lot of it, just like most programmers, although they won't tell you this, is coming from, drag and drop stuff. You cut and paste certain pieces that you need to use, right? So like most people who are running program, they won't tell you that they're the real programmers will write all that stuff from scratch, but the rest of us hacks, we all just cut and paste.
Man. That was the first thing they showed us at Raspberry Pi Academy. Hey, look at this website. You can get it all right here.
This is GitHub. This is where all code lives. Yeah. But for realistically though, like we're going to give you the start. We're going to give you the skills to kind of play around and give you the opportunity to build off of it from there. So, summer camps are going to be a blast. We have a lot of great content coming. They will be available or should be available by this weekend for you to start signing up. Like I said, all summer long, lots of great stuff, lots of great content. They're built for K-12, but if you want to pretend to be a kid and just jump on because you think it's really cool, go for it. We won't tell anybody that you're not really a kid, although the kids in the camp might notice.
And if you're an educator,
we're all kids at heart, right?
Yeah. If you're an educator out there, and this is something you're seeing at the stuff we're offering in camp, and you're wondering, hey, how can we do this at our district side? Feel free to shoot us an email, and we could always have those discussions as well as maybe we can always turn some of this to PD opportunities as well. So we are educators, so we're made up of educators, so we know the world pretty well.
Absolutely. So, we're going to be back again next Tuesday. Keep an eye out. We'll be running this again weekly just to kind of share some fun things with everybody. Looking to bring in some guests in the next couple weeks to share some exciting stuff, interesting content, things from across the world that would be exciting for y'all to see. So keep an eye on the space. We'll be continuing to broadcast these things and share with everybody kind of the amazing things happening at Princeton Hive. Love having everybody in. Doug, thanks for your great questions tonight, and we will see you all next time.
Absolutely. Have a great night, guys.
Have a great night. Thanks for tuning into the Hive Live.